This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Good Saturday morning to you on this final Saturday of May 2021. It is the 29th day of May here, and it is 757 Saturday Sports Talk powered by Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you know who to call. It's 757-INJURED for Larry King. And with Kyle Hightower on the other side of the glass, I am Matt Hatfield. And Kyle, a pretty entertaining weekend last weekend as you had some great golf. How about Phil Mickelson winning the major there and did a monstrous rating? I mean, it even destroyed the to a sense, the NBA playoff rating with Lakers Suns head-to-head, but he shot it well from the tee and hit some great golf, and we'll see if he can do it again coming up, 2 or 3 weekends now for the Open? I think it's 3 weeks from now. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. A lot going on in the world of sports. And how about your JMU Dukes, the softball squad, getting themselves a nice W last night, beating Missouri, who was really pushing them to the limit there. Had the bases loaded, but they got out of that bases loaded jam, came through with the W, 2-1 over the Tigers to outlast them, despite that bases loaded in the bottom of the seventh in game one of the NCAA tournament softball super regionals. And Virginia Tech had a great game in its opener, lost last night 2-0 to UCLA as they knotted that series at one game apiece. But the night before, they handed the reigning NCAA champs just its second loss in 30 home games this year as War Hill grad Keely Richard fanned 12 in a complete game three-hitter. She is dynamite when she is on. She was that way in high school and has continued to be just absolutely tremendous at the next level for the Hokies of Virginia Tech. But a lot going on in the sports world. And, in fact, I want to thank all the people that have sent some kind words our way the past week. We had a lot of fun last week. It was our first really remote, and I'd say almost 2 years because of the pandemic. We were fortunate enough and privileged enough to be out there at the Boo Williams Sportsplex for just an amazing Hoop Group Southern Jam Fest, as we got to see potentially 3 lottery picks last week in Kyle for just one AAU team, which won the championship at the 17 and under level team final, led by Imani Bates and Jalen Duran, the number 1 and number 2 players in America for high school basketball, as well as Derek Lively Jr., a 7'1" center, who's probably the third best player on that team and might be going to Duke one day. So a lot of fun out there, and Boo Williams and some of the great guests we had. If you missed any of that, it's up on our podcast page, ESPNradio941.com, and we're hoping in, I guess you should say, shows to come in the months and years to come. We'll be able to do more remotes. I know we might be doing one at Virginia Wesleyan for their team camp at the end of July, if Lord willing and the powers that be allow us. So it was a lot of fun out there, and we had some people that said they thoroughly enjoyed that. So we had 6 guests out there every segment last week, and neat to see some people back in the buildings as we're getting closer to the end of this dreaded pandemic that we've all had to suffer through for the past year, and some have suffered through it more ways than others with it. So we appreciate all that. And phone lines are open if you want to give us a call here at 757-687-9494 and 757 Saturday Sports Talk this morning on ESPN Radio 94.1. We won't have 6 guests today, but we'll have a couple of special guests, and we'll also have an interview playback with an NFL guy. We're still efforting a couple of our NFL guys from here to come on as they navigate their OTAs and everything here through the summertime. So we'll work on that here on this Memorial Day weekend as we move things into the month of June and then July, and then football will be here before you know it in August as the summer wraps up. But we'll be talking at about 10:25 this morning with Pat Nichols. He is the head baseball coach of the state champion Greenbrier Christian Gators, who won last weekend at Shepherd Stadium, the Division II VISAA State Championship 7-6 over the Highland School. 14th state title for GCA in baseball. That's just an absolute legendary program. You think of Gary Lavelle, who coached there before Nichols. He played there, did Patrick Nichols, and the first title for that program since 2016 as they continue on its great tradition of outstanding baseball and sending a number of players on to the next level. So we'll dig into how the season was for the Gators of GCA and their tremendous comeback win over Highland in a little bit. We'll also be scheduled to be talking with at 11:05 this morning Eastern, Bob Rathman. He is the Emmy Award-winning play-by-play voice of the NBA's Atlanta Hawks. He's a Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. We've had him on our airwaves a few different times before, as we'll talk about the Hawks taking that 2-1 series lead on the New York Knicks, 105-94. Trae Young with 21 points and 14 assists there. And there is some in-state Virginia I wouldn't say 757, but Virginia flavor. Yeah, there's a little bit of 757 flavor. You got Nathan Knight on that Hawks roster from William and Mary, undrafted, but he had a couple of really great games. He has not seen the floor lately. And DeAndre Hunter, who was a part of UVA's 2019 national championship winning team in his second season, bouncing back nicely from injury. So we'll talk about the Hawks and the NBA playoffs with Bob coming up in the 11 o'clock hour here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Hey, I also want to give a quick shout out to one of our good friends. We've had him on so many times with our Legends of Sports update. I don't know if you saw this or not. I believe it's in the paper from another one of our buddies, Larry Rabama from The Pilot. But there's a story out on the book that's being done by A.B. Whitfield, former Norcom High and Elizabeth City State University standout. He's doing a book, The Pictorial History of CIAA Professionals. As you know, the CIAA is the oldest African-American athletic conference in the U.S. of A., the United States. And the book features a lot of local athletes as well as some info on Norfolk State and Hampton. The forward is actually done by Pam Oliver of Fox Sports. And our buddy Coach Charles Hatcher is featured in that book. So go check out Larry's story for more details on that. I'm sure we'll be yakking about a lot of that with Coach Hatcher in the future episodes when we bring back our Legends of Sports segment here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. So I'd like to give you some nostalgia, some current stuff going on, some past stuff. Try to mix it up for you and give you a variety here on the program. And speaking of variety, you're not going to hear it right now on these airwaves today, but you'll hear it on our sister station on 1310 AM, ODU Baseball, as they are in action right now as we speak, on 1310 AM in the Conference USA Baseball Tournament. They're playing one game for sure this morning. They could be playing two games should they lose later on today, and that would be an elimination game for the Conference USA Tournament, although I think they're going to still get in the NCAA baseball tournament regardless, as Chris Finwood and the Monarchs have just done a masterful job this year, 40-14 overall, and right now they are currently in action down in Ruston, Louisiana, taking on the Owls of Florida Atlantic, who they beat 11-2 on Wednesday. On Thursday, they beat Middle Tennessee 10-6. Should they lose this game to FAU going on right now on 1310 AM, they would then play a 5 o'clock do-or-die game. And again, if they win, they're moving on to tomorrow's Conference USA Championship, which I see is being televised on CBS Sports Network, 2 o'clock. And you can also hear it on the ODU Sports Radio Network, 1310 AM has got it. Money Talk for you today. So you can hear Ted Alexander and the crew there give you the Monarchs baseball. And here's a neat little stat for you, Kyle. Guess who? Give us one of the two teams in America that's tied for the nation lead in home runs with 91 in college baseball. Just give us one of the two.
I guess ODU.
That's one of them. Very good.
I remember them leading earlier in the season.
They are. Now, who's the other team that's currently tied with 91 home runs at the top of the leaderboard as we speak right now? They might blast a couple before we get off the air. We'll try to give you some updates throughout the show here. Who's the other team? You want a hint?
Yeah, I'll
Conference ACC team. And by the way, Arkansas was one of those teams that was leading them or tied right there with them, but Arkansas is right behind ODU in this team with 90. Who's the ACC team that's tied with ODU if you want to keep a little tracker of this as we go through the rest of the season?
Miami.
It's not Miami. That's not a good – I mean, that's a good guess, but it's not the correct answer. It's Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, with 91, tied with Old Dominion. So we'll see if they knock a couple out of the ballpark before we sign off here today, as they've just done a great job. It's neat to see them. I mean, you got JMU, you got Virginia Tech softball, you got ODU baseball. What's better than that for our local fans? And I'd say Memorial Day weekend for me, Kyle, we got a lot of basketball playoffs we'll dig into throughout the show, but you're starting to see baseball kind of who are the disappointments, some of the surprises. You're about a third of the season through here. Crazy game last night with the Dodgers and Giants, if you happen to flip on that late. Great catch out in left field by San Francisco to rob Albert Pujols of a home run. Forgot the left fielder's name, but then you had Austin Barnes with a 2-out game-tying 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth, and then the Giants recover after blowing that lead with their bad bullpen. They've been having a great year with Buster Posey and that crew, but the Giants won it in extra innings, and after this weekend, they'll have 16 games done by the end of the weekend with the Dodgers and Padres already, so that's going to help their cause if they try to get into playoffs, get one of those wild cards. I mean, I don't think we're going to expect them to win the division with L.A., the defending World Series champs, and San Diego being as potent as it is. But starting to see a lot of interesting baseball storylines and games developing. And So it's a neat time of year here with all the different sports blending still here as month comes to a close. But some interesting games last night. I wonder how many people thought you'd see both the Clippers and the Celtics rally from huge first quarter deficits. Boston was down 19-4 to Brooklyn with Durant, Harden, and Irving all on the floor, which they only played together, all three of them, 7 games, 8 games, all regular season. And then the Mavs were up 26-8. They hit 6 of their first 9 threes before Kawhi even attempted a shot. Clippers had 3 offensive fouls the first 7 minutes. They're a mess. And people are screaming and hollering on social media. It's not Doc Rivers' fault now, is it? And then they go on a 14-0 run. Luka's out of the game. And a 2-point lead at the half. Clippers end up winning at 118-108. First time a team led at halftime after trailing by 19 in the half since the 1998 Pacers did it, with Reggie Miller in that group. But tall odds for both Boston and the Clippers, down 2-0 going into last night, and they both get the W's, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know in the Brooklyn-Boston series, it's more than likely going to be a gentleman's sweep, but if Tatum just keeps playing like that, it's going to be hard to beat them because sometimes he just gets in that zone. I just, feel slightly bad for Boston. They've had plenty of success over the last few years in sports, but they don't.
For them.
Yeah, they don't have their other star player in Jaylen Brown, which sucks. But I think that Clippers Mavs series could easily go 7. I think that's going to be a fun series to watch because both of those teams are high-powered offenses. And Luka's been playing incredibly recently, and if he keeps playing like that, it's going to be hard to beat. But they lost a little bit of their home court advantage after they stole it from the Clippers. That could be one of those weird series where just every team wins an away game and no one wins at home. We've seen that happen in hockey and baseball, but I don't know if we've ever seen that in basketball.
No, I remember, was it the 2019 World Series with the Nats and the Astros? Every team won the road game in the World Series, which was just absolutely wild, as we had some locals get some hardware there with Ryan Zimmerman from Virginia Beach, as well as Daniel Hudson closing out that World Series for the Baby Sharks. I had to get my Baby Shark in this morning, but the one thing as phenomenal as Luka Doncic is, Kyle, the thing that would worry me at some point in his playoff for him, and it's going to worry me with another superstar in his playoff, and again, great players, his foul shooting last night was very, very sketchy. Not very good for a guy that's just a all-world talent. His free throw shooting could cost them in a close game here in these last, game 5, game 6, game 7, somewhere. And I think in the Eastern Conference, as spectacular as Giannis Antetokounmpo is, the Greek freak, his foul shooting, it almost cost them in game 1 against Miami. They recovered, won it, but I could see that in the second round series, say against Brooklyn, close game, that could go 7. That to me is the most tantalizing potential series we could have, a second round Brooklyn-Milwaukee in the NBA. But man, Jason Tatum put on a show. I remember watching him. I've said this numerous times on our airwaves. It was only about 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago at the Boo Williams Sportsplex. I mentioned last week we were out there. He was guarding Matt Coleman, and he was locking him up. And not a lot of people do that with Matt Coleman, who started at Maury High in Norfolk, Boo Williams travel program, and was a standout in the Big 12 for Shaka Smart and the Texas Longhorns. And I instantly said then, I don't know how good he's going to be, but I know he's really, really good, and he's a different breed. And 50 points, that's the 4th time he did that this year, matching Larry Bird already in Celtics lore in that category. Now, the game's a little different than back in the 80s, so I'm not trying to put him on a different pedestal or the same pedestal as Larry Legend. But only Rick Barry had more points for a team in a playoff series down 2-0 than Tatum last night. Rick Barry scored 55 years back with his team get down 2-0, and Tatum dropped 50 against the Nets with Durant, Irving, Harden. You'd say 3 future Hall of Famers potentially there for Brooklyn. So be curious to see how that moves on today. And you got some great basketball playoff action today. I tell you who's in a must-win spot. As I know you are keeping a close eye on the Jazz, as am I, as I'm donning the Karl Malone throwback today. But Portland's in a must-win today against Denver. They go down 3-1. That's dicey for them. I love watching Damian Lillard and the Blazers play, but Jokic, the Joker's been awfully good. And Austin Rivers, I didn't see that coming for him. 4th quarter where he just lit it up. I mean, that guy was out of the league 2-3 months ago, and he just goes bananas in the 4th quarter of the night in Game 3.
Yeah, Austin Rivers seems to jump from team to team, and then there will be a couple game stretch where it seems like he can't miss. But I don't expect that to happen. I think Jokic is he's so good. And I mean, that's why he's going to be the MVP.
Should be. Yeah.
And MPJ's been pretty good, so we'll have to see if they can continue that. But that's a fun series to watch just because it's just so high scoring. Those two teams don't play a whole lot of defense, and it's fun to watch as a casual fan.
I'll tell you what, the most fun series to watch until last night. And by the way, the hockey has been great. I'll give a quick thought on hockey in a second. The most fun series until last night, where it was a runaway, was the first two games of Hawks-Knicks. That was the edge of your seat, especially game one where Trey hit that big shot, 0.9 seconds to go, and then the Knicks had to come back in game two at the Garden, watching everybody go nuts at MSG with Spike Lee and everything, and the Knicks got to get some scoring punch because as great and as improved as Julius Randle is, I don't know that he can be the go-to guy on a championship caliber squad. I think it's a nice story that he's kind of quickly turned around his career, which was kind of being viewed as a mediocre average at the start of his career with a lot of attention and ballyhoo, but I think he's a better number two guy on a top-level team than – I mean, he has to be for the Knicks because they don't have enough scoring, and they have the money to spend. They'll go get it in the summertime. But the Hawks, to me, I'll get into this with Bob. They're the quietest – really good team on the rise because they have shooters everywhere on the floor. Trey Young he's not going to make first, second team or third team All-NBA. And you're going to say, what do you mean? He's not. Look at how deep the guards are. He's not making any of those teams because you're going to have Doncic and Curry and Lillard and Westbrook and Beal. I can name 10 guys you're going to have. He's going to get snubbed entirely, but you put on the TV and you say, how is he not first, second, or third team All-NBA? He's going to get snubbed entirely. And by the way, two of those Jazz guys, Gobert and Mitchell. I know Mitchell missed some time. I don't think either one of them make first team All-NBA either. I mean, they had the best record in the league.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll make first team. Though I would imagine they both make at least second or third team because they both had really good years, especially Donovan's second half of the season was going off before he had the injury. And maybe that injury keeps him off because he missed basically the last month of the season. But, yeah, no, the Hawks have been, surprised. Ever since Nate McMillan took over there, they've been, playing lights out. They were one of the best teams in that second half of the season. I think, and Bogdanovich there played really well second half of the season. Capella's played well all season. They've got DeAndre Hunter back and healthy. John Collins is healthy. Gallinari is healthy. Like, them fully healthy, they're a solid team. They've got plenty of shooters, and they've got at least a little bit of defense with Capella and Hunter and some of those guys. So they're a sneaky team to watch out for in the East.
Oh, very sneaky. I mean, they're a franchise on the rise for sure.
It will be
good, but not great.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. If they go up against a team like the Nets, who they'll probably try more to exploit the matchup with Trae Young, with guys like Kyrie and Harden trying to switch on to him. So that could be interesting. But
you guys get that far though, because they'd see the Sixers in the next round. I don't know if they get that far.
Yeah,
conference finals good?
I would say the Sixers don't have that guard that they can try and switch on to Trey. It'll be interesting, that matchup. I don't think the Hawks get through the Sixers right now, but if they were, them going up against the Nets would be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, that would be a unbelievable story. And Nate McMillan, I'll dig into this with Bob. Like, I thought he had a little bit of a shaky moment in the second game where he kept Trey out a little too long in the fourth quarter. It cost him, but he's just done a marvelous job with a franchise that doesn't, have a bunch of big-name guys and some young kids, basically, and they're winning. Real quick thought on the hockey. This will be a challenge for you when we do our buy or sell later on in the show. We'll probably hear from Coach Young when we do our buy or sell later on. Mix a little bit of the sports with hockey, basketball, and baseball. There was no overtime game last night. Vegas won comfortably over Minnesota 6-2. And today you got Game 6 of Toronto-Montreal. You got Game 1 of the second-round series with the Islanders, or as they're sometimes referred to, the Icelanders of New York, taking on the Bruins of Boston. In Beamtown. But I love to know how many overtime games there have been so far in the hockey playoffs. And I'd love to know what the record is for a single playoff, too, if we could ever figure that out. But there was 2 the night before, with Carolina edging Nashville and Montreal edging Toronto to keep the Maple Leafs from advancing. But every night, if you're even not a big hockey fan, which I'm not a huge hockey fan, but if you find a game that's tied or about to go to overtime, the last 3 minutes, 4 minutes of those games are crazy. People going all over the place. It's fun to watch the last few minutes when a game is tied of the hockey playoff action. So a lot to do here. Phone lines are open at 757-687-9490 for anything you want to talk about in the world of sports. We'll touch on some local news and notes and a bunch of things. Oh, by the way, football season opener times are announced, some network TV announced. We'll get to some of that throughout the program as time permits. when it comes to college football, which is literally like, 92, 93 days away. We'll probably break out some of the preview magazines and tell you where some of the teams are projected coming up in June. But I want to give a quick shout-out, though. Anthony Solomon from Warwick High School in Newport News. He's back on the bench at Notre Dame as an assistant to Mike Bray. He has been named the associate coach there for the Fighting Irish. He was once there as an assistant, so good to see Anthony back there with Mike Bray at Notre Dame. So I wanted to get that out there. But when we return, we'll take a break and talk some state championship baseball with the Gators of Greenbrier Christian. Patrick Nichols will join us right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by Larry King Law on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
757 Saturday Sports Talk is powered by Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you know who to call. That's 757-INJURED for Larry King on this 29th day of May, the year 2021. Hope everyone out there is having a great start to their Memorial Day weekend right here on your home for sports, ESPN Radio 94.1, where we are privileged to be joined by a special guest. He is the head baseball coach of the Greenbrier Christian Gators. He's a former catcher at Coastal Carolina and Old Dominion. I'm sure he's got his eye and his ears tuned into the baseball game right now with the Monarchs in the Conference USA tournament as they make their push towards the NCAA tournament. And, of course, he also was once drafted by the Washington Nationals in 2006 and now led his alma mater, the Gators of GCA, to their 14th state championship. Last weekend, a victory coming from behind 7-6 over the Highland School of Warrenton over there at Shepherd Stadium. We say hello and congrats to Coach Patrick Nichols here. Coach, thank you for coming on the program. A very fun time for you and the boys, huh?
Yeah, man, it was a wild ride. I tell you what, it's always special to be a part of something like that, especially at your alma mater. So it was exciting, and it was a great group of kids.
And following up in the footsteps of a legend in Gary Lavelle, we know what remarkable heights he brought Greenbrier Christian baseball to, the former major leaguer himself. And nice to see the field there at Greenbrier Christian named Lavelle Field. Tell me about this last weekend's game. How different was this playoff run compared to past, given all the different protocols and circumstances and things that have gone kind of with COVID here, and how you guys had to adjust throughout? And then we'll dig into the actual game and the strategy of the game.
It was a very, very stressful year. You typically a high school schedule for high school baseball. I mean, I've got people as of even last night sending me messages trying to schedule for 2022, believe it or not. And I mean, we finished last summer and we had nothing. I mean, we had our conference games, but even that was in doubt. You know, you go through the winter and we're sitting there in January, just like I just remember walking into my AD's office one day saying, you know, Danny, please help me. Like, I'm begging you to help me. I can't find games. Nobody will schedule. I don't know who we're going to play. I don't even know if we're going to get our conference. And, you know, it all came together, and I made about 3 or 4 different schedules. People canceled, not because they wanted to, because they weren't allowed to play. And but it all came together, and I know we played a stretch. We played 13 games in 16 days, and it was a real grind. But the kids did well with it. I mean, it was like the choice of, do you let the kids play, or do you just play games that set yourself up to be successful and feel like you're going to have a good chance to win them all? And my mindset was, hey, we're going to go play. And if we're going to do the best we can with it, and the kids really did. They rose to the challenge, and I think it set us up playing a grind like that under the circumstances that we had. I think it set us up to be successful in the end.
Am I seeing this right? You guys went 21-6 this year. Was that the final record?
Yeah, we were 21-6, and you know, we were very blessed to have the opportunity to go to Myrtle Beach. We did a tournament we always do down there, and
oh, nice.
Usually there's like 100 teams. This year there was like, you know, 15 or 20, and half of them were local schools that were hosting. But, you know, we got that in, and you know, we got challenged early, and we got challenged throughout the year. And, you know, the fortunate thing, it's not fortunate, but the beautiful thing about this year was all of the stronger programs were scheduling games. They were wanting to play. And, you know, so we just played a very strong schedule this year.
You know, I think in some regards you might be also a little bit fortunate that there was some sports that went before you as we tried to, you know, some of the restrictions got eased and we're getting back to some normalcy, if you will, with sports, with obviously some of the winter sports going, and then even some of the, in the case for the public school side, football with its public schools and even some private schools had some of a spring season this past year. Was there any point here throughout this playoff run or towards the end of the regular season where it was less of the emotional and the mental and the psychology part of it, and you got back to some of the baseball, are we going to bunt here? Are we going to put this pitcher in here? Did it get to some of that more tactical stuff, or did it kind of remain a little bit strange throughout?
The strategy of the game is once the game starts, man, it's like, hey, nobody ever woke up in the morning one day and said, hey, I'm going to go lose a baseball game today. Like, everybody wakes up and says, I want to win. Everybody wants to win, or why else do you play? So once the game starts, it was always like, how are we going to beat you? We're going to try to beat you, and we're going to put our best lineup out there, and we're going to be competitive, and we're going to do the things that we feel give us the best chance to win. But the stress and the pressure of we have to wear masks, and we have to enter the dugout a certain way at different fields, and we have to fill out pieces of paper and turn them into your opponent where you've taken temperatures and you've gone through all the protocols, like that never went away up until I would say kind of maybe with a week or two left in the season. We were told, okay, you don't have to wear masks on the field anymore. The bat hitter doesn't have to wear a mask. That was stressful, because it was always that question of is an opposing AD going to watch a kid take a swing and his mask comes off his nose and they're going to make you forfeit. It's like that possibility was very real. And, I was the mask police for a long time and I hated it. But, yes, towards the end that started to relax a little bit, but it never completely went away. All
right, let's go to the sixth inning. Trailing by a run against Highland, who has got an excellent team. And Joey Allen comes to the dish. Bases loaded, no outs. He comes through with a 3-run double to left center. What's going through your mind as he delivers that? Are you thinking, oh my goodness, we're going to win this thing? And how nerve-wracking was that whole at-bat?
As soon as he hit the ball, my first thought was, is it gone? He crushed it. If he'd have hit it higher, it would have been. I think it hit the base of the fence. But I'll be honest with you, the emotions built as soon as he hit the ball because it was only a matter of how many runs are we going to score off of this? Are we going to be, there was no chance that I was not sending all three of them. We had a really good read from Gavin Whitehurst was at first. He had a really good read on it. Of course, he had the ball out in front of him because it was hit to left field, and our base runner, was looking to tag from first to second. Once he saw that it was over, said he was gone, but there was no chance I was stopping him. So it was, hey, you're either throwing out the plate or we're going to score, one of the two.
That's awesome. We're talking with Patrick Nichols. He's the head baseball coach of Greenbrier Christian. Last weekend, VISAA baseball champions were crowned. Benedictine won at 8-7 over St. Christopher's in Division I. Walsingham Academy here from the Hampton Roads area, notching a 2-0 shutout of Carlisle in Division III. And, of course, Coach Nichols' Gators coming from behind to edge Highland 7-6 for the Division II crown at 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1. And, as you soak it up and you win the championship, a chance to kind of exhale and enjoy it a little bit. That had to be pretty sweet for you and the guys.
Yeah, man, it's pretty tough to win that thing. Anytime you win a championship or a state tournament, a national championship, a conference championship at any level, it's not easy to win that thing. There's a lot of pieces that go into it, and as I sit back and just now reflect on the whole thing, we played Atlantic Shores in the semifinal. And a young man, Nico Angrazani, throws a complete game with 10 Ks. And I'm going to tell you right now, we were fresh on the mound going into that championship game, and we don't win without him. There's just so many pieces that Ethan Ott hits a 3-run opposite field bomb in the state championship game. We don't win without that. Joey's heroics in the late in the game, the bases clearing double, does not happen without James McGrady coming in and throwing 6, innings in relief, to keep us in the game and keep us there. There's just so many pieces of a championship run that are all, very special and a piece of the puzzle. And a lot of things have to go right to win a state championship. A lot of things have to go right. And fortunately for us, they went our way.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit as far as some of those guys you mentioned, like Nico and Ethan, Joey Allen, James McGrady, and others. Tell us about some of them that are going on to the next level and those that are returning for you for this next season.
Well, James McGrady is going to Western Carolina. He was our shortstop, and he's a real bulldog, man. He was a true competitor in the sense of the word. But he's a shortstop going to Western Carolina. Joey Allen is going to Averett University. He will be graduating here next week. Ethan Ott is going to UNC Pembroke. So those three will be moving on. We've got Nico Angrazani who's is in 10th grade, so he'll be back. We have another one, Augie Younts is going to be back for his senior year next year. He's committed to VCU. So we're losing some kids, but we have a bunch of kids back, and obviously we have hopes to do it again.
Absolutely. Tell us about Coach Lavelle, what an influence he was on you and what you learned from him, advice he gave you as you embarked on becoming the head coach at your alma mater.
I've been asked that question quite a few times, and I will be honest with you. There was a Gary Lavelle shadow. It did exist. I acted like it didn't exist. It did. And I do feel like to a degree that has been lifted at this point because he was so incredibly successful. And, I was a part of a lot of that with him, but, it was Gary is a good friend of mine. He's a mentor. I've known Gary since I was 8 years old. And, I went to his baseball camps. I did lessons with him when I was a kid. I played at the school he coached at. I came up, I coached with him. So I watched a lot of what Gary did. And the one thing Gary always told me was be yourself. Don't be me, be yourself. I'm leaving. This is now your program. It's not my program anymore. Yeah, my name is on the scoreboard, but this is your program. And, anytime I called Gary and asked for advice or his opinion, I did a lot of that early on, call and ask his opinion. He was always willing to share and always willing to help. And, anytime I ever ask Gary for anything, he's there for me. But I think that to a degree, it's been 5 years since Gary was the coach at Greenbrier Christian, and his mark is still on the program. But he is not involved in the day to day anymore. And it was a lot of fun to do it, and he did call me and congratulate me on winning, and I appreciate that. But it was awesome to be able to add to the legacy that he built.
We're talking with the state champion coach of the Greenbrier Christian Gators, Patrick Nichols, here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. His team capping a memorable 21-6 season with a come-from-behind victory 7-6 over the Highland School of Warrenton last weekend at Shepherd Stadium. Patrick also a 2006 draft choice of the Washington Nationals and starred at Coastal Carolina as well as Old Dominion, where he batted .307 with 18 home runs and 47 runs batted in as a second-team All-CAA selection. Yeah, back in the CAA days there at ODU. And you'll be happy to know, Pat, that ODU baseball right now is up 3-0 on FAU thanks to the Andy Garriola home run and Lincoln Ransom's 2-run homer. So neat to see not only your Gators get some hardware, but the Monarchs might be getting some this weekend too, huh?
I'm pulling for them, man. I'm pulling for them. So they've had an exciting run, and I'm happy for, Finney's had an emotional year, and I'm happy for him. It's really exciting to see what they're doing. They got a good squad over there, and we have a kid that played for me, that graduated in 2017, Jason Hartline. He has just been electric on the mound for them, and I'm really excited for them and him, and I've been following it pretty closely.
Yeah, I mean, they're leading the country in home runs right now, which is just a remarkable story. And you mentioned about Finney, just a super guy, and we know he lost a loved one this year, so we send our very best to him, and he's sort of a sentimental favorite for people even beyond just the Hampton Roads area and the state this year. And I imagine some fun times and memories at ODU, and a lot of that helped shape you and mold you what you're doing now as a coach.
We had a really good squad. My last year at ODU was in 2006, and we had a really good team. I believe it was the last time they were nationally ranked prior to this year. And we had a really good run. I want to say we won 21 or 23 consecutive games in 06, and we had 4 or 5 draft picks on that team. One of them was me. And, we made a run, and we just kind of fell short there towards the end. We just kind of – I don't think we had the pitching that they have this year. I think they're deeper, and our starters were really good. We had Jason Godin, Kevin Gunner, Dan Hudson, who's obviously with the Nationals right now, that started for us. And we just, we had one really good reliever, and past that, they're deeper, I guess is my point. And I'm hoping they make a run at it. They certainly have the team to do it, and I'm pulling for them.
Well, last one here. We appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll get you on here in future episodes as well, Pat. What is it about this 757 area code? I've asked this to various athletes, whether they're from basketball, football, baseball, track, you name it, about just the pride and area code. And, of course, you were drafted by the Nats. You spent some seasons in the minor leagues, got to AAA Columbus, and I'm sure this area code resonates even beyond people in Hampton Roads. They say, oh, you're from the 757. You see all these different guys that make it onto the big stage in the major leagues. What is it about this area and kind of the pride about it? And I'm sure you've heard it from even others outside the Tidewater area, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's something in the water. I don't know. But there certainly is a lot of good baseball and a lot of good sports in general that come from this area. I think that, it has to come back to, that when kids are young, it's like certain kids are, I don't know, born into baseball, and certain kids are born into football. And, there's a real market for it in this area, and there's just a lot of options where you can play as a child, and you can play, there's a lot of travel ball when you get to a certain age, and there's just a lot of that. And kids are, if they want it, they certainly have an avenue to find it. And I know that you go to other areas, other parts of the country, and that just doesn't exist. And I think it comes back to people that paved the way for that. I think that the vision 20 years ago to allow kids to play at a high level when they're young and develop their skills, has created what we have now. And I think there's probably too many of the quote unquote travel ball teams at this point. There's so many of them. But with that said, there's just a lot of opportunity and a lot of tournaments and a lot of games to play. And I think that helps, build the sport. And it's not just baseball, it's other sports as well. So when you're steered towards that as a young child, and you have the opportunity available to you, you're gonna grow in whatever sport that you play, and that's the testament to the 757 and the people that make that possible.
Yeah, the youth sport's such a big deal around here, as are the high school sports. I think that's why we have such a huge following and passion for it from people around Hampton Roads, because we don't have that big time, major professional team that's in the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL or hockey. We have minor league sports, which is great. College sports and high school sports, they're all soaked up and loved so much. And job well done to you, Pat, and your Greenbrier Christian Gators on a state championship this year, last week, and I'm sure many more championships in your future. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, the summer, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
All right, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on the show. That is Pat Nichols, head baseball coach of the state champion Greenbrier Christian Gators here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, the former catcher at Coastal Carolina and Old Dominion, which is leading its matchup right now. So a chance to move on to the Conference USA Baseball Championship, his old school, the Monarchs, as they are playing right now against FAU on Money Talk 1310 a.m. We'll come back and give you a chance to hop in here if you like at 757-687-9494. And you'll also hear from an NFL defensive lineman from the Detroit Lions who played his high school football in Virginia. Also played for Nick Saban. It's coming your way next on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Larry King Law brings you 757 Saturday Sports Talk each and every Saturday right here on ESPN Radio 94.1. If you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King and visit LarryKingLaw.com for more. I am Matt Hatfield. Kyle Hightower, other side of the glass. We thank Pat Nichols for coming on the show. If you missed any of that, it'll be up on the podcast page later on ESPN Radio 941.com. He, the head baseball coach of the Greenbrier Christian Gators. Going on right now on 1310 Money Talk, you have ODU baseball in action in the Conference USA baseball tournament. Top of the fourth, they lead FAU 3-0 there. A single with 2 outs from Carter Trice, but nothing more as the Monarchs maintain that lead over the Owls. If they win, they'll move on to tomorrow's championship game in Conference USA. We'll be talking with Bob Rathbun, the Emmy Award-winning play-by-play voice of the NBA's Atlanta Hawks, who used to call action right here in Hampton Roads. He did some Tidewater Tides back in the day, before they were the Norfolk Tides. Also did some William and Mary, did a lot of sports. He is a Virginia Sports Hall of Famer as well, and a 6-time Virginia Sportscaster of the Year recipient, working with Dominique Wilkins for Bally Sports on the television side. Guy that's also at the professional ranks as a player, not a broadcaster, is a man by the name of Deshaun Hand, who was the number 1 ranked high school football player in America a few years back when we had a bunch of decorated 757 talents like Taquan Smoke Mizell and Andrew Brown and Quinn Blanding and Jalen Holmes and Derek Nottie, and Hand was the number 1 ranked guy. He's had a little bit of an up and down pro career so far, but excited for, and people are saying he's going to have a breakout year with the Detroit Lions this year in the NFC North. Deshaun out of Woodbridge High School in Virginia, and also played for Nick Saban at Alabama in the SEC, was back home in Virginia up near Woodbridge for a camp, and our man from VirginiaPreps.com, Reese Becker, caught up with Deshaun Hand, and here's what they chatted about. Let's give it a listen now on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Here, former Woodbridge star Deshaun Hand. Deshaun, you're here at your camp. It's a hot day. We got a lot of really good prospects here. What do you think about the camp? And just talk to me about giving back to the community.
Man, it's a great process, man. I just love the competitive nature of these kids and to get an opportunity to showcase their talents. And, I mean, a lot of kids don't get that option because they don't know about combines or don't have a ride to get there. So it was good to come back in my backyard and get active.
You went to Woodbridge and you went to Alabama and before you went to the league. Just talking about how recruiting was when you came out. How do you think it's changed in the last, 8 years now?
Yeah. I just think kids have more access to things. You know, they got a lot more programs and technology. They got body scanners now, you know, so you don't even have to go to a college camp for a coach to even see you. They don't even have to physically come see you. So I think it's a lot easier, but still, the knowledge still has to be taught. So that's what we're here to do.
So I know you have to go back to OTAs tomorrow, which is crazy. We're at that point again.
I know.
What do you think about what's going on in Detroit and the new coaching staff?
I'm excited. It's a new opportunity. We got a new coach staff. We got new players. And so I just got to go in there ready to work.
Talk to me about your time at Woodbridge. You're originally from Pennsylvania, I believe, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Your high school career and then just your memories of it.
Man, fun, man. Just going into a game knowing you about to get 3 to 4 sacks, taking over a game, just the competition. You know, it was just fun. It was a good time. I was young, didn't have that many worries, and I was just out there being a kid.
Well, most high school players don't get 3 or 4 sacks in a game. You know you're abnormal, right? In that stance.
Right. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
I mean, you were a 5-star. You did go to Alabama. There's some guy named Nick Saban or something. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. You know, he's the greatest coach.
Yeah.
College coach, greatest college coach. Yeah.
Maybe greatest football coach ever. I mean, he sure turned you into what you are today. I mean, you already had a good foundation from being in Virginia. So, are there any kids coming up right now? I know you talked to Sean earlier that you really have your eye on.
No, not really. To be honest, I'm an open book when it comes to advice. I call it the work party. Everybody's invited. So when you want to get work and advice, I'm here for it.
What do you think about these? I mean, there's a lot more camps now than there used to be. Right. What do you think about how many camps there are and how selective kids need to be at their camps?
I just feel like you have to go out, and if you decide to do a camp, just go out and show out. Whatever you put out there, that's going to represent you. So you want to put out the best representation of yourself at all times.
What's it like looking back now, from Woodbridge to Alabama to the league and then, just that journey? Because, that's one in a million or something? 1 in 1.2 million?
Yeah. No, I enjoyed every part of it, the highs and the lows. I wasn't perfect, but I got through, and I persevered, and I'm here now. So I'm just thankful for it.
That system in Alabama, how does it just churn guys out year after year?
It shows you if you really love football or not. It's a real test.
A lot of guys say the same thing about going JUCO or NAIA. What do you mean by that? Because I mean, for JUCO NAIA, it's I have to work a job on the side, no scholarship. For what's the difference between Alabama and everyone else? Well,
Alabama is known to be a powerhouse, and there's a standard. To be the top, you got to do what other people aren't doing. And I feel like the physical demand and the mental demand that they demanded was just top notch, and either you were cut for it or you weren't. And you were going to find out fast.
So for the kids who are about to take their visits, how quickly after your visit did you know, hey, this is Alabama, this is where I want to be?
I suggest you take all your visits, go and see what's out there. Don't put all your eggs in one basket so quick because it's going to change your life forever. So, yeah.
What do you think about the portal? It's bigger now than it used to be.
Oh, the portal? Yeah, them kids is lucky. Now that I don't agree with, because I just feel like kids that came in the same time as me didn't get that opportunity, but at the same time, I can't be mad at it because I'm happy for the kids now. They can get to move and don't have to sit out a year.
2 more final questions for you. Coming out of high school, you were a 5-star, so everyone knew who you were.
Yeah.
Your videos are all over the place, people talking about you. And they have this new thing called NLI, name, image, likeness. NIL, name, image, likeness. How do you think that would have changed your journey? And what do you think about that? These 5-stars coming out, they're all over Twitter and they might be able to profit off of it one day.
Yeah, I would have been making a lot of money. I would have been making a lot of money. Put it like that.
Final question for you. There's a lot of colleges hiring what they call a personal brand coach, and you have a personal brand. It's on your neck.
Yeah.
And you are wearing a Deshaun Hand piece, and my God, it's getting my eyes. It's kind of making me.
I'm proud of it.
What do you think about all that now?
As far as
personal branding, what athletes need to do, because you have a brand now.
Yeah, take advantage of it. You are your own business. Especially in this line of work, you're an athlete. So your body, your presence is your company. So take full advantage of it.
So that was Deshaun Hand, the number 1 ranked high school football player in America by Rivals.com in 2014. Was out of Woodbridge High School in Virginia, then went on to Alabama, played for the legendary Nick Saban with the Crimson Tide, was drafted in the 4th round in 2018 by the Detroit Lions, where he now plays. It's 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. And so Deshaun Hand played for a legendary college coach, Nick Saban, now in the NFL with the team that has the lowest win total, Kyle, preseason in the NFC, and the Lions. But the college football odds are out. I don't know if you saw them for over-unders, and Alabama at the top with Clemson at 11.5 for their win total. Right behind them, Ohio State and Oklahoma with 11 apiece. Georgia at 10.5. Then you have the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina, North Carolina, and Cincinnati at 10. I ask you, of the college football programs in the Commonwealth of Virginia, who has the highest preseason over-under? And I'm sure we'll probably do some over-under fun games as we move into June and July and August before the season gets underway. But it's never too early because everybody clamors for these things. Who has the highest over-under of teams in Virginia? So you pretty much have, 4 choices? You can choose the 2 ACC schools or the 2 in-state FBS programs outside the ACC. Where are you going?
I guess I'll go Virginia Tech.
That's what you would think ordinarily, but believe it or not, the Hokies' over-under is at 7, and there's someone in the Commonwealth of Virginia with a higher over-under win total than Virginia Tech.
Liberty.
Give me Liberty or give me death. Their win total is 9, says the Vegas odds makers, whereas the Hokies are at 7, Virginia is at 6. And if you're wondering, it's probably a good little idea if you're a guy that likes to throw shekels. Over-under for ODU is 3.5. Wow, that seems awful low, as they're at the 3.5 mark with Arkansas State, Duke, Illinois, Northern Illinois, and South Carolina. Man, is South Carolina football falling off or what? Yeesh. Now I see why George Wilson didn't go there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make little shots at them. George Wilson of Creed Run, who's now going to Florida State. He was initially, I think, headed that way, SEC country for the Gamecocks. But I think the Monarchs can get 4 wins. I think it's very, very possible. They can maybe get 5 wins. I think that's a very friendly number if you're thinking the over there. So a lot. Hey, by the way, speaking of the Monarchs, I don't know if you saw this or not, Kyle, but it was announced this week a couple of TV games for them. Saturday, September 3rd, the opener at 7 p.m., ODU taking on Wake Forest. That's going to be on the ACC network for the Monarchs when they play Wake Forest. So a lot of people that have that, they can check that out, ACC network for the Demon Deacons and the Monarchs of ODU. And then they're going to have another television game that's been announced. And by the way, that game's in Winston-Salem at Wake Forest for ODU. Their home opener is September the 11th at Cornblau Field at SB Ballard Stadium against the Hampton Pirates. Just 8 days later, they do go after that Hampton game on September the 11th to Liberty on September the 18th. Their other televised game that we know of for now is October the 30th, day before Halloween at 3:30 versus Louisiana Tech on the CBS Sports Network. So there you go. And I did also see that UVA's football season opener against William & Mary is going to kick off at 7:30 p.m., airing on the Regional Sports Network. But this of note, their September 11th game against Illinois on ACC Network will kick off at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You don't usually see kicks before 12 noon, do you? Hardly ever.
Nope, unless it's the FCS championship game.
Ooh. You weren't too happy about that? Well, you probably weren't too happy about the semifinals more than the championship.
Because it was noon here, but 11 in Texas.
It was, that's true. But and they're also going to have some other televised games we see, North Carolina, Wake Forest, and UVA and Virginia Tech. They're no strangers to being on TV. So there you have it. Hey, 2 little quick college basketball notes before we go to break and bring in Bob Rathbun. The Monarchs of ODU are going to play that rival, no longer a conference rival, but they also get referred to as the Varmints sometimes. VCU to Rams. ODU is going to host them December the 11th. Saturday, December the 11th. I hope Mike Rose didn't hear me say that, by the way, who was at the Bill Williams Sportsplex last week. Could not come on watching his son Logan. But so Monarchs and Rams going to get it going Saturday, December the 11th. And then another college basketball note, I'm sure this makes you happy, Kyle. Drew Timmy is returning to Gonzaga for next season. He may be the preseason favorite for National Player of the Year, as the Zags are currently the favorites, once again, to win the national title. But I'm going right now out on a limb and saying Villanova gets it done for Jay Wright. He gets his third championship, and Jay might finally get poached away by the NBA. He might, once he gets the third one. So we'll see. We'll talk about the NBA with Bob Rathbun, play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Hawks, when we come back right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, exclusively on ESPN Radio 94.1.